Oh, you're good, Dave. You're good. You're good.
All right. A gigantic aloha and mahalo and a socially distant 6 foot away set of hugs and high fives for you. It's great to reconnect.
Yeah, man, and a huge mahalo and and aloha to Hawaii. Huge.
We love it. We love it. It was great having you. Last time that I was talking with Kat, we had him here in the studio with us with his cello. It was really incredible. And so, first, where are you right now for everybody who's tuned in? And is this where you've been since the start of the pandemic?
I've been Kingston, Jamaica. I've been here since March the 18th, and that's a D-Day kind of day for us. I got back from Anguilla. I went to Anguilla to attend Moon Splash with Banky Banks, and I stayed a couple of days with a friend of mine in St. Martin, and then I flew back to Jamaica on March the 18th. And on the 20th of March, the Prime Minister announced that anyone who had come back to Jamaica as of the 18th had to be quarantined for 2 weeks. So that's what I did. I basically stayed home for 2 weeks. And I was required to call the Ministry of Health just to let them know that I'm okay. And then sometime, maybe I would say, maybe 6 weeks ago, they called me just to check in to find out if I'm okay.
Right.
So I basically have been here, and I opted really not to go back to Florida because there were no flights. There was nothing really, there was no way for me to go back, and pretty much I just had to wait for that. Things got a little bit better. 1 or 2 flights came, 1 or 2 flights left. But I wasn't quick to jump and do it,
Right.
and then it turns out that I was right because look at what's happening there now.
Oh, it's
So
incredible. Incredible. And where in Florida is it that you live when you're not in Jamaica?
Tampa,
Okay.
my wife and my daughter are there.
Wow. So you're separated from your wife and your daughter. From some of what I saw on social media, and I could have it wrong, but is your son there, Shia? He's in Jamaica?
Yeah, Shia is in Jamaica and Stevie is in Jamaica, and my other daughter, Kana, they're here. So the Jamaican family, as it were, all of them are here.
And describe? So you're in Kingston. When do you leave your place at all? What's the vibe like there? Or is everyone wearing masks? Do you stay at home? Kind of give us your daily rundown.
Well, the daily rundown is quite simple. I mean, we have to go to the supermarket, we have to go to the pharmacy. Um, Pretty much that's basically it. The gas station, the supermarket, and the pharmacy, and you have to wear a mask when you're going into any places. But pretty much what I've been doing, I've been going out into the countryside on the weekends, and I've been making a little film about about my take on what's happening. I call it Tiger Tales, and I've been doing some stuff. I've been staying with some people at this beautiful location where they have one of the only 3 slave hospitals that are still where the structures are still there. And the old sugar mill is there,
Orange
and
Valley Estates you're talking about.
I'm talking about Orange Valley.
I saw that. This is the old slave hospital. You did a video. We'll talk about that coming up. That's powerful.
Yeah, it's really cool. So I did a lot of stuff there. It's my friend's place, so I go there and I stay with them, and I've kind of used that kind of like as a base, and I went out and I did a lot of stuff exploring up the Martha Brae River and up into the cockpit country, stuff I've never really ever done before.
Wow.
Yeah, and I went up to Ocherias and interviewed the Jobsons, Wayne and Brian Jobson, which was really, really cool. I mean, those guys have some stories to tell that's unbelievable about early days with Chris Blackwell, and with Brian Eno and Phil Ramone and Dave Stewart, because Brian's with Dave Stewart now. They have a studio down in the Bahamas.
Wow.
So yeah, so it was really cool to hear the stories about Sly and Robbie and No Doubt, Gwen Stefani, how they did the songs, and it was really cool.
Wow, look at you. You're doing all this positive stuff, keeping yourself busy and seeing beautiful sights too, huh?
Mm-hmm.
I love it.
Yeah, man.
I love it. Tell me,
Absolutely.
when you mention the tiger tails and you say your take on what's going on, and it's Cat from Third World talking to us here about that. Give me a little insight into what you're thinking is going on and what you're documenting there with the film.
Well, I mean, on a on a lot of different levels, you know, it's a good question, but there are a lot of different levels and a lot of different visions. So let's take, for instance, the fact that, well, we can't perform, can we?
Right.
So, you know, that's one level. So going up into some place in Falmouth and sitting there on the wharf and taking my guitar and singing 96 Degrees and all these town people gather around and stuff. That's the kind of thing I never do.
Right.
And it was just such a thrill for me to do that, just to see the love of people, how people feel, and people are under pressure too. So for someone like Cat Coore to come into their town and just take out his guitar and start singing, it's kind of like a big thrill for them, and it's big fun for me. So I mean, I kind of that's one answer to your question,
Right.
and the next answer is that because there's so little movement, and because I'm either in Tampa with my family, or I'm in Jamaica with my other family. I stay with my brother Mike and his wife, Auntie Carol, and it's just one or two places I'm usually in. But now I've been here with them for so long that I figured, boy, let's get into some kind of work that is safe. And the best way to work that's safe right now is to document stuff that you can do, like go up into the country, find new spots that are isolated. There's nobody there in these places. Up in the Marthabury River, there's no one there. It's absolutely beautiful. I mean, at the slave hospital, there's no one there either. So there's no social distancing, component to the whole thing. And, I carry my instruments. I get a chance to play. I get a chance to express myself. And then whoever is available, I get a chance to speak to them interview style and to ask them questions and to
Right.
find out how people feel about this whole change of the world.
I love it, Kat. What a positive way of doing things, and I guess you get a little bit of that you have that desire to play, and this is a way to play, and in a way that you get real response too from people. Because I can imagine you really please people when they say, "Wow, there's Cat from Third World playing one of their classics, acoustic, kind of totally stripped down in the moment, like you said, 96 degrees by like the side of the road."
Yeah,
I get chills thinking about it, and that, like, I guess it's a good lead into the thing I saw. One of the things you mentioned at this old slave hospital, Orange Valley Estates. You did this one performance as part of. He's done a lot of remote stuff while you've been there in Jamaica, but it was for the Boston Jerk Fest festival, and explain the significance, I guess, of this place and the memories of you recording there, including with your cello.
yeah. Well, my original thing was that I rang up my friends down there and I said, "Look, I'm really tired of Kingston. I need to get away." And my friend Kathy, she said, "Come to me, come and stay by me, man. Get the hell out of Kingston." So when I figured out, I said, "Wow." So, well, if I'm gonna go down to Kathy, then what I should do is carry my cello and film myself playing Redemption song in the slave house,
Wow.
just as a one-off thing in the slave hospital. And then when I went there and I began to just use my phone and just take pictures and move around the thing, I said, "No, man, no, no, no. We need to extend this thing into a much bigger project. Let's get Tony Eruption to come from Montego Bay with his drums, and let's do a whole thing. So I even had a reggae session in the slave house one night
Wow.
where I set my speaker up and I selected Dennis Brown, Bob Marley, Gregory Isaacs, and I had that was one of the most touching things for me, to play a couple Dennis Brown and wheel it and start again and things. It was really cool.
Like a sound
I mean,
system style thing, you're saying.
sound system style, but just with a Bluetooth speaker sitting right there at the slave hospital. It was it was something very special for me, and everybody was laughing their head off and thing, because we had a few, and we had been smoking a lot of weed, so we were we were we were, we were in the right mood to do it. Nobody was spooked out, because the slave hospital is very overpowering. In the moonlight when you go there, it's very overpowering. It's kind of spooky.
The video
So
is very powerful. The place looks incredible. It's like this. It's the remains of the building, and there's grass and plants kind of overgrown around it. It is very powerful view.
yeah, and the thing about it too is that we don't really go inside. We don't go into where the wards were and all of that. Where we're performing, that's the entrance,
Ah,
right at that spot there. But we don't go inside. It's always been from I've been going there, and I first saw it. My thing was always that I don't go inside. I leave that sacred. You know what I mean?
yeah,
So
yeah.
yeah, so I just sit on the stairs and play, or on the outside is really powerful too and stuff. And down by the sugar factory is really powerful too. The chimney still remains. It's like maybe 60 feet high, 40, 60 feet high. It's quite a sight, and it's a powerful place, and it's a powerful parish. Trelawney, it's a powerful parish. Usain Bolt comes from Trelawney. Falmouth is a town that had electricity before New York.
Wow.
Yeah, and it's a site also now of probably the biggest cruise shipping port. But I mean, that's only a trivia thing now, because cruise shipping is
Over for the moment.
really not happening right now.
Yeah.
So yeah, but the harbor itself is one in which a lot of slaves were brought to, because Falmouth Harbor is very deep. It was a good place for the ships to dock, and the parish itself was good to grow sugar. So a lot of sugar was grown there in slave times, and a lot of factories are there. One is the Orange Valley factory. It has a lot of history. It has a tremendous amount of history. But the average Jamaican, even myself, it's something I've never explored before. So I had the time, and I had the energy, and I went ahead and I just did a lot of exploring, did a lot of filming. I did a lot of reading up about the slave house. It was built in 1797, and a lot of the wood that's used in the framing of the windows is this bullet wood that apparently was brought from Spain.
Bullet wood.
Exactly, and some of that wood is right there in the frame. Same way, it has lasted centuries. It's just incredible.
Why did they call it bullet wood?
I'm not sure, but
Okay.
that's how it was described to me.
Yeah, yeah. I dig it. I dig it. I mean, that's just so intense that you've been able to use your time and do that. And it doesn't, I mean, just to connect that to this latest record of yours and the way that, and even though the record came out, More Work to Be Done, I'm talking about, which was Grammy nominated. And even though the record was released last year, one of the tunes on the record is called Hear Us Out. And not long after the pandemic started, the Black Lives Matter police reform movement became a series of enormous protests, really. It started anew after the killing of George Floyd, but one way that your band reacted was creating this protest visualizer video for that track, Hear Us Out. And I just think I planned on asking you that anyway, but when you talk about your journeys during the pandemic and all of these slave related issues that you've been able, pieces of history, important ones, from the harbor that was deep where the boats could come in, as you were saying, to the hospital, all of these places. It's kind of ironic, huh, when you think about how that dovetails into the video and the protests and one larger issue.
Well, it's true, and you're absolutely correct, because it's not so much that the Black Lives Matter thing really, it was necessarily an inspiration for me. My inspiration was that, boy, I've been playing Redemption Song on the cello, and everywhere I go, people always say, please play Redemption Song. And, I figured to myself, boy, if I'm going down to spend a couple of days with Kathy and Alec and Jackie, I should take my cello and play redemption song in the slave hospital and get it filmed if it's even on a phone. And this is before the George Floyd thing, right around the same time anyway. So it's kind of like ironic,
Right.
but yeah. But the thing about it that makes it so poignant is that when they heard what my plans were, they totally got into it 100%, and they asked their son is engaged to a lady from St. Vincent who is a very good still photographer, and she said she'd try her hand at video. So I got her on board, and she did that first initial set of videos. But luckily for me, Bonnie Rugg's son Rashid came back from Los Angeles, and he's a pro filmmaker out in LA. He just ran away from the film business because there was no work, nothing was happening, and what he was picking up from unemployment really couldn't pay his bill on Melrose Avenue.
Sure.
So he just decided to come home. And so when he came home and he did his little stay at home stint, after that I was able to take him down there. And so we started to get some very powerful stuff. But as I say, this is something that was just out of a bag of just creating just vibrations, that seem to make sense.
Yeah, yeah.
You know, um, it's just a matter that, boy, if I had been in Hawaii and I'd been stuck there, I'd have done the exact same thing. I would have tried to find places up in Hilo and places up in Maui and stuff where all those volcanoes are, where people go and run in the day because the sulfur helps to open up your lung capacity. I had a friend of mine who used to do that every morning. He used to run around some lake and stuff because he said that it helped to open up your lung and keep you free from this and that and that. And I really would love to explore that stuff. Hawaii is very much in the same mold of basically what I'm describing.
Yeah.
I mean,
No,
you
I dig
know,
it. I dig it. It was just a coincidence, I guess, is what you're saying, that a lot of that stuff you were exploring happened to connect to both the history there in Jamaica and the slave trade, but then it was just an ironic connection to the Black Lives Matter thing, which just exploded around the same time. And that he's talking about Bunny Ruggs Clark, who has passed on, but was a critical member of the Third World Band, and who actually was a guest of ours here on this radio station many years ago. And then the video, talk a little bit about that. Hear Us Out. So who was he? And I got confused in there. Did he help put together that video too, or who helped with that?
actually, that's all Heather Cameron, really. That's Heather Cameron and Ghetto Youth.
They did that video for Hear Us Out.
Yeah. What happened is that they had really wanted Hear Us Out. We had kind of Hear Us Out was a track that really wasn't on the board as a single. But based on what was happening, Heather took those images and paired them up with the song. And then, she started to get excited about it. She said, "Wow, look at this!" She just put a few little ideas together. So she sent it off to Damien, and he really loved it.
Wow.
So
She's t-
yeah, so when it went off to Damien and he loved it, then he got involved and got his people involved, and pretty much, you know, they took it from there and made it into what you see there now.
Yeah, it's a protest visualizer, they call it, and that's incredible. And Heather is in the management of Third World, and obviously a very, very talented lady to be doing that in addition to looking after you cats. And I'll have the video for that. I'm serious. I'm impressed, man. I'm like, wow, Heather, I got to give her a high five from 6 feet away, of course. But I really am impressed, and I'll put that video into the post. And ironic that something like that happened. And what do you think? Continuing with what we were talking about, what do you think made that incident with George Floyd have this kind of power to spark the wave of protests we've seen that went beyond the U.S. to be this kind of global movement? And also, when you're thinking about the way people have reacted there in Jamaica, Cat, has there been any particular reaction you can share?
Um, as far as particular reaction is concerned, Jamaicans have always been on the front line with this kind of thing. So, that was not new. But in terms of the reaction and the way that it spread across the world, we have a saying in Jamaica that says, every day you carry the bucket to the well, one day the bottom is going to drop out. It's just the same thing when somebody says it's the straw that broke the camel's back.
Right,
You
right.
know what I mean?
Yep, totally.
Yeah. So this is my take on that whole thing. I think that, here's the thing too. For the longest time, African Americans, black people, how you describe them, brown, whatever, they have been peacefully protesting for years and years. They got nothing done. Nothing got done. All those peaceful protests, you mean to tell me that they couldn't save one life, one guy from being choked to death by some asshole kneeling up on his head? I mean, look how many peaceful protests we have had, and that still prevailed. So it just reached a point where the pot just boiled over, and that's the only way I really can describe it. I can't put it into any more eloquent terms than that. I mean, that pretty much is how I see it, and I can tell you, I think that that's the reality, and it's spread. It keeps spreading and spreading. Plus, you have to understand that we have a president of the United States who currently makes these things come to our mind much quicker.
Hmm.
And yeah, and so, I'm not playing politician here, I'm just being honest.
Sure.
And that I think played into the whole reality of Black Lives Matter and people really just saying, hey, what's going on here, kind of thing. So, you know,
No, I understand. It's extremely frightening, the division in the country, and I was just curious what a cat like yourself would perceive it as on that end, and it's ironic too, and it may just be another instance of irony thinking about the record and some of the material that's come from it. But there's another really serious jam from this "More Work to Be Done" that you did with Damian Marley, and that is this powerful moment on the record, which is the song "You're Not the Only One." There's also a video for that, and it portrays the struggles of a few people, including a little boy in foster care.
yeah, absolutely.
Talk a little bit about that. Where was that shot, and what was the impetus, the motivation for something? I mean, the theme of that is a very strong one and a very powerful message of trying to say a lot of people are going through struggles and kind of highlighting the story of that child.
Yeah. Well, if before I go into the story, Dave, you said something, and I just want to let you know that you have the real boy with you in Hawaii. So let's move on. um,
Oh, wow.
the real boy is there, Barack Obama. That's the real boy. You have him with you there.
Right on, man.
But anyway, to get back to your point, uh, to get back to your point, yes, um, the song actually, the way Damien was describing the song when he was helping us to write it, and the way he pushed us in the direction, because basically a lot of it's written by him.
Oh,
But he always wanted us to put lyrics in and to put input in. And where he was coming from was that each individual person has their own struggles, and he's trying to say if you're out there and you're struggling with something that's on your mind, you're not the only one. So if you're out there feeling lonely, you're not the only one. Almost as if you're saying to yourself, wow, I have this thing on my mind, and I really have to deal with it, and this and that and that and that, and it's a thing that you are struggling with. But the whole point of the song is that you're not the only one. Everyone has a moment like that, has a problem like that, has a conscience based issue like that. So that's really where the song is coming from. When the pandemic came along, it's almost as if, boy, the song took on another meaning again.
exactly, exactly.
Yeah, yeah. So it's truth and rights here, Dave. That's what it is. And basically, I think where Damon was coming from, he figured he wanted a couple of songs that he really that he really thought were like the old third world type songs.
Right.
That's his words, not mine. And he went for that. And some of the stuff that we brought to him, I think pretty much pretty much we brought quite a few half finished songs to him. And instead of finishing those half written songs, because we didn't want to go to him with finished songs, we wanted to go to him with stuff that we could get his input on it. We wanted him to help us in that direction. We wanted the younger mind to help us finish writing some of these songs because we've been great writers through the years. We've written some incredible tunes, but which he himself says, Uncle, I mean, we can't, there's no way we can beat 96 Degrees. There's no way we can beat Reggae Ambassador right now. We're not trying to go, what we're trying to do is to bring a fresh vibration here, and this is what we're trying to do. So, I mean, after 40 years of writing, 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 it was just very cool for somebody like him who has become mature enough to see his uncles and realize how he could bridge the gap between him and his uncles and how he could do something that he always wanted to do, which is to produce his uncles.
I love it. You know what's neat about what you're talking about? It gives me chills when you say talking about him, talking about the old third world. And again, this is we're talking with Cat Coore, Stephen Cat Coore, the leader of the band Third World, and talking about their latest record, More Work to Be Done, which ironically came out last year, but has a couple tracks, as we were saying, which kind of fit really in a spooky way right into the modern world that we're in, both with the protests and the pandemic. And Damian Marley, one of Bob's many talented children, he there's a short video documentary about your effort to make the record, Cat, and he says something really powerful in it, which what you were saying just reminded me of. In talking about how strong his connection to you is, Damian Marley says it was at your house he did his first ever recording as a little boy. You remember that?
Of course, I remember that. They snuck into my personal studio and did it.
Was
Jim
it?
and my son and his friends stuck into my studio when I was away traveling. They went in there, smoked up a bag of weed inside the place, and went and recorded a couple of things on their own and stuff. I came back, I was just absolutely like, I laughed for like, I don't know how long. I mean, Shaya's mom was pretty upset. She didn't like the fact that they had invaded my space and just carrying on like it was their own. But I was on tour, and when I came back, I heard about it. I was on the ground laughing. I thought it was the coolest thing in history. I mean, and guess what? They were using the roll and drum machine in my room better than I could use it. So where would I be coming from having a problem with that? You know what I mean?
No, it's
These
great.
are these are the memories, Dave. These are the memories.
It's great. It's one of Bob Marley's children, and you go back that long with him, and then here you go all these years later. Like you said, he's mature enough now to actually play this role in helping your career and trying to, as you said, bridge the gap. And during the recording process, because I've got you in this nice mood of remembering nice things, I can hear your smile when you smile, knowing you. Share some of the moments that you spent with Damien that are particularly meaningful or touching to you when you think about just maybe during the recording. Doesn't even have to be recording stuff. Could be a time you got to eat together. Maybe you took a walk. Maybe you remembered something.
Well, I think my greatest moment with Damon Marley is taking him to him and Shire to Reggae Sunsplash because Shabba Ranks and Ninja Man were going to clash, and this was this was the thing for that generation at the time, and so on. And this was a Thursday night, and I was playing on the Friday night. Right, Thursday night was dancehall night, and I was gonna play on Singers Night, which was the Friday night, and the kids begged me, begged me, begged me, begged me. They have to see Ninja, they have to Shabba Auntie. I said, listen, I have to work tomorrow, so I mean, what's happening? I mean, can't Mommy Cindy and Mommy Donna take you. And both Mommy Cindy and Donna said, you're on your own with this one, Kettle. So so I had to take the two boys to this dance hall night at Sunsplash. And nothing started, Dave, until 4 o'clock the morning. That's when the warm up act started. They were just doing pure rubbish the whole night. Pure rubbish was coming my way. And you have to understand, I'm standing there with the two kids, and they're so anticipating Shabba and Ninja that their energy is up. My energy is way, way down because I've had to drive them to the park. I've had to get through the line, everybody, cat, core, yes, that, all that stress. I've had to get in, I've had to get them settled. And they were young, so I have to be looking after them minute by minute. I have to be watching them. I can't lose them in the crowd or something ridiculous like that. So I have to be watching them minute by minute. It's very stressful. And then nothing doesn't happen until 4:30. Then Ninja Man comes on and he goes on with his thing for like, I mean, I was amazed what he did because he made up everything he did. He made up on the spot. He's coming from the grill and that and this the done, this the done. This was this thing. Westmoreland police boy them this the done, this the done, this the done. Westmoreland police boy them this the done. Then he goes to this whole thing. I come from the grill and I reach at this point, and I mean, I couldn't believe what he was doing. It was unreal. And he went on and on and on, and the two boys just went absolutely nuts. And they just went crazy. And then Shabarangs flew down in a helicopter. My God, the two of them were trembling like an earthquake was going on. I just said, guys, calm down, calm down, calm down. But this is why Damon says he's a DJ, because this is what really inspired him and it's stuff. But he's also a great singer. Quite frankly, he's one of the best Mali singers. I think God didn't waste the talent on the wrong boy. He's one of the most talented of them all, I think. And and life has proven it, because he's by far the most famous right now. And I mean, Ziggy's fame is now in a generation that's just below me and you, maybe.
Right.
And nobody can take that from him. He's fantastic and he has tremendous following. But Damon Marley, boy, that's the guy. Him and Steve, they're the two boys.
Well,
That's my feeling. I kind of like Skip too. Skip look like he has something happening to him. Really cool. And all the rest of them. Julian, I'm trying to go and see if I can look for Julian on Saturday up at 9 miles. He's up at 9 miles. And I would like to go up there. I haven't been up there for many years.
that's where Bob Marley is buried, correct?
Exactly. That's where the mausoleum is. I haven't been there many years. I really like to do that. So I'm trying to see if I can get that done this weekend. You know what I mean?
Oh, well, you know what? Now I understand why you have the relationship after you telling that crazy story. Now I get why you're so close with Damien doing something. I mean, and how old was he when you took him to that Sunsplash Cat? How old was he?
I would say probably Shy was 8, he was 9.
Oh, wow. Okay.
Somewhere in that region. Yeah,
Okay.
somewhere in that region.
That's some really that's really powerful. And on that note of this kind of like, the way that you've turned into this kind of folk hero there, a lot of it is because you have a real kind demeanor, and you've kind of been nurturing to people throughout your life. And the last time that I got to spend time with you, you came to the radio station, and you actually brought one of the cats in the band. You're really, really talented singer. Not many people might realize his incredible operatic skill. I guess it's kind of like you on the cello. Both of you have these kind of tricks you can surprise people with. What's AJ been up to? Give a little plug for how he's been doing during this.
Well, I tell you something. First of all, greetings to AJ and his lovely wife Tamara and their son, Aquan. Greetings to them and love to them, and I hope everything is good with them. I tell you something. AJ, he's a phenomenal talent with his voice, But AJ is also a talented artist too. AJ has a degree in art.
Visual art. Yeah, I was watching on your website. AJ's
Both of
been
them.
teaching people online, I see.
Yeah, yeah, and that's really cool. I really check for that. And the funniest thing is that Bonnie Ruggs was in art school. Bonnie Ruggs is a good painter too in his day. It's strange. Bonnie was in art school and he was doing good. Ruggs' time in Jamaica got a little bit interrupted because he went to New York. His
Mm.
mother got him to go to New York, and he got his visa, his green card, whatever. He went to New York, and then his life kind of changed when he went there. So there was no more art school or nothing like that, and he moved from there to driving a taxi, and from there he started singing in a local band in New York, and he took it from stage to stage, and he came back to Jamaica and was singing with Inner Circle, and then he that was something that I think that was a change in Bonnie's life when he came back and started singing with Inner Circle, because he really was just proving himself as a great singer. And he went back to New York, and he joined the Hugh Hendricks and the Buccaneers, and he did a stint there in New York. He was driving taxi at the same time, and it helped to formulate a career for Ruggs. And then when Third World went to New York and we were performing, he came to see us play because we all kind of grew up on the same corner. As far as Inner Circle was a very important thing for Third World, and for Inner Circle, and for people's personal careers. I have to really say that, and I really have to take my hat off to Roger and Ian's father, Roger Lewis and Ian Lewis, their dad. He bought a tremendous amount of equipment for Inner Circle. Um, he had the faith as a father in those days to do that, to start a band in Jamaica. I
Right.
mean, that is incredible, you know.
Well, all of you
Right.
guys were doing it really early back then when the resources were so slim. And you're saying that Lewis Brothers having that PA and that rig really helped them to expand what they were doing there, is what you're saying.
Exactly, exactly. It's not only the PA and the rig, but the stuff that the drum set and the twin reverb and the bass amp and the
Right.
keyboard and stuff was their dad invested in them, and they didn't let him down. They didn't let him down.
No,
They
those.
kept they kept on plodding away. Jacob Miller died in a car crash, and they kept plodding on, plodding on. These are the boys who I love. These are the boys who Roger is a big brother to me. I mean, I have two bigger brothers who are awesome, but Roger is also a big brother to me, big time. I was only 13 when I joined in a circle, brethren. I was only 13 years old
You look so young
when
in those videos, dude. The videos they've got on your website, you look like you
I.
don't look much older than 13 when some of those videos were shot, my brother. It's incredible.
Absolutely.
I mean,
Absolutely.
yeah, you're a total survivor, and it's wonderful just to hear your beautiful voice. And when you were talking about when you were talking about the band and the PA and the rig and all the equipment, it made me think like as we go to wrap it up, where does it stand with you guys and getting back to doing anything? Because obviously it looks like everything is just going to be on hold indefinitely. From a business point of view, what are the plans for Third World in terms of performance?
As you rightfully say, it's basically a watch and peep thing. Watch and see what's happening. Keep calm. Watch and see what's going on and stuff. That's the basic thing that we're doing right now. I mean, Damien has already indicated that as soon as we can travel back to Florida, that He wants me to come back. He wants Tony to come back because Tony and myself are the only two guys who are in Jamaica. Everybody else is in the States,
Hmm.
But Damon wants us to come back to start working because he's kind of saying that boy, towards the end of this year, we could start working on tracks, working on tracks, working on tracks, so that when things begin to turn around, we have another album project that is in the works at least.
Right. But
You
no
know,
live concerts of any kind or even remotely on the radar, correct?
no, we're trying to figure out some live streaming thing. We're trying to see what we can do. I'm doing the Reggae Sunsplash thing this weekend, which is really looking very cool. I saw the whole setup yesterday, and it's really really good. So I would advise people to watch that because it's really really they're really doing it good. And yeah, and they'll be able to see Maxi, they'll be able to see Sizzler, they'll be able to see most of the artists who are gonna be on Sumfest who are here.
Right.
They will be on that live thing. I'm not a lot of action from Florida, so you wouldn't see like Damien or Steve or anybody like that because that's a little bit. Florida's really not too cool right now.
Man, it's
Just in
frightening.
terms of just in terms of moving around and doing things, and if you're trying to leave the state, it's very difficult. And it I can't really answer your question as to when the live thing will happen, but the most important thing right now is to keep the faith and to try and see what we can do to to make the vibration happen. And yeah, and as I say, even Hawaii right now is somewhere where I've visited many times, but boy, it just seems so far away from me. But I know I'll be back, and I really, really am so looking forward to that. And I can imagine the Hawaiian reggae artists; they must really be on their button here now. They must be in the studio churning on song after song. I don't really know what's happening in Hawaii. Are you guys opening up? Are you guys totally locked down? What's happening there?
Well, we've had such a hard time with the reality is we've had low numbers for a long time, and we are in that isolated spot, which can be useful for a time like this. But the flip side, as you know, is the economy is dependent largely on visitors. So we can't
Exactly.
we can't really welcome them back because the mainland is going like kind of out of control, and
Yeah.
we have
It's the
it
same thing here. It's the same thing here with our tourism.
right.
7 out of 10 are Americans, Dave. 7 out of 10.
Of your tourists are American, you're saying.
Yeah,
So
that's
it's
what
hit.
that's what I heard on the radio today, which I was kind of shocked because we have a lot of German tourists, a lot of French, a lot of people, especially since reggae music has influenced Europe so much. We get
Right.
lots of them coming in.
Right. So you're saying it's
Yeah,
been hit hard though. What you're saying is with 7 out of 10 of the tourists not showing up, then Jamaica's been hit really hard.
yeah,
Like Hawaii in a lot of ways. There are, that's the things we've talked about it many times. There are those similarities because obviously reggae is a huge thing in Hawaii, and while it's thousands of miles away, we've just pointed out there are some real similarities, and we're hoping that who knows. So yeah, the answer to your question is it's kind of like it's the same sort of thing as in a lot of places. They tried to reopen for the economic push that would provide, and then you end up with the higher numbers and higher deaths. So we're kind of in a scary place right now, and hopefully it'll turn around. But like you said, you're trying to have a positive outlook. I like that you're doing so much online. I'm going to keep looking for more of your little posts that you do on the Facebook. Again, I was moved by your live performance at the Slave Hospital there. That really touched me in Orange Valley. And on the island, real quick, where on the island, if you're looking at a map of the island, where is that on the island? And that's not up in the northwest, is it?
exactly.
It is, like near Lucy? Is that where it's near?
Lucy is actually Hanover, but when you come other way going towards Ocho Rios, then you have St. James and then Trelawney. So
Okay.
it is northwest. It's northwest. You're perfectly correct.
Yeah, well, I've been in the grill, so I thought I had seen I thought I had been through it
Oh
on the
man, that's so beautiful.
on the
I'm
way.
gonna send you some pictures, Dave. I send some pictures to Heather and I'll ask her to send them to you of Trelawney.
I would love it. I would love it. And I'm gonna send you a gigantic hug and a high five from far away, and I mean it. You know, I loved having you here in the studio. I love being talking to you, spending time with you, and it's the great Stephen Cat Coore, Third World, and just an honor to get you on the show during the series we're doing, talking with folks about the crisis. And let's stay in touch, my brother. And I want to talk to you again soon, if that's cool.
Yeah, man, anytime, my brethren. It's all good.
All right. You had fun today, I hope, Cat.
Yes, man. Mahalo.
Big mahalo to you. Stay safe, my brother, and thank you very much for being part of the show again with me. It means a lot.
Thank you, my brethren. It's a pleasure, and thanks for having me.
You're quite welcome. Stay safe. We'll talk again soon. Aloha, my brother.
Blessed love.
Yo, my brother.
Dave, how you doing?
All right, brother. Great to hear your voice again.
Yeah, man, you too.
And I appreciate you doing this because I didn't want to not have something about this massive passing, as you can imagine. So it was like it would sound terrible if we did not acknowledge the passing of Toots. Yeah.
Yeah.
And so, one thing to talk about today for sure is with the death of Toots Hibbert of Toots and the Maytals, legendary pioneer of ska, reggae, rocksteady, founder of the Maytals, of course. I was wondering about your reaction to his passing. It was determined it was complications of COVID-19, but beyond that, just his overall significance. I was hoping you could perhaps offer a bit of history and eulogy in terms of, first, I guess, your thoughts on Toots in general.
Well, it was kind of difficult for me to not be very emotional about this because you have to frame this. Um, you have to frame this in the sense of that I first played with Toots when I was 13 when I joined in a circle, and we were the backing band for like the Christmas morning show, or the when it was mainly those shows in those days were New Year's Eve day and Christmas Day, and they had a lot of artists would be on those shows, and they were held at the biggest cinemas in Kingston at the time, which was the Carib, the Regal, and the State Theaters. And those three venues were like probably the only ones that in that time had that sort of makeup or platform, as it were. So those shows for a band like Inner Circle, who was basically just like a club band or a band that played for dances and played to backup artists and stuff. Those are big shows for us. And that would be where I would have met Toots first when I backed him up at a very young age, and he remained so close to me for all the years right up until his passing. And in fact, I had the pleasure of giving Toots the Lifetime Achievement Award from Third World 2 years ago at the Ligani Club for when we had Third World and Friends. Toots has always been on Third World and Friends. We have had 4 Third World and Friends shows. Toots appeared on every single one. Never asked us for a penny. Just gave his love free, and speaking of him as an artist is another completely different thing too, because he was just outstanding, an extraordinary person, extraordinary human being. The energy that he brought to his songs is quite amazing. All of them in their own right are great songs. Not to mention that he took John Denver's Country Road and made it his own, and made it a massive reggae hit.
Right.
And yeah, and just based on my whole word to describe him is energy, good, loving, soulful energy. I think that he probably was as good a singer as Otis Redding. when he come on to sing in the blues and singing soul music. I don't think there was a better singer than Toots. I haven't heard a better one. If it's not Otis Redding, it has to be somebody up in that echelon, Sam Cooke, those kind of people. That's where Toots was. That's a draw that Toots is in. There's so much I could say, but yeah, maybe I should just let you say something.
Well, when you said a lot there, but part of that, when you talk about your interaction with him at such a young age, and I guess this is like the mid '60s or so when you're doing this, late '60s. This was a part of that you're explaining is also he kind of predates reggae. He had a song that's widely credited with sort of defining the name of the genre. And talk a little bit about how the sound was really something kind of different, the ska and that feel that was existing when he first started and when you were first getting to work with him.
Well, he has some great songs. He has some great numbers with the Scatolites. One that comes to mind is Dog War. And that's a tremendous song. In fact, I looked it up on YouTube and I forwarded it to Chris Blackwell the day he died, and I said, Uncle Chris, I'm just sending you this from my heart.
Wow.
And he sent back hands clapping and thumbs up and everything like that, and he would have had a couple of really good records with the Scatolites. And then from there on, he would have had Rocksteady right into reggae. But there's a clip with him explaining the whole reggae thing, and he's saying that Rocksteady was very close to the reggae, which is true because the reggae was just an upstroke on the guitar. Rocksteady was at one downstroke, check, check, check,
right.
check. And it became check it, check it, check it. It put a slight swing onto Rocksteady. And, I think this is one of the reasons that people say that Toots kind of is the phrase reggae because he was imitating how the guitarist was playing. He was playing check it, check it. He said it reggae, reggae.
Wow.
And yeah, and that's how Toots explained it to me. Those are not my words; those are his words.
Right.
So yeah, so I basically, I took it to be one of these things that Jamaicans have this incredible creative thing about them that out of nowhere some great creative idea comes and it becomes like a huge joke. It's humorous at first, but then the seriousness of the whole thing comes out, and that could probably just have been a joke in the studio that turned into what we now know as reggae music, which is one of the most famous music in the world. Not only that, but it comes from an island with 4,411 square miles.
Right.
I mean, that's extraordinary.
It is.
So
it's huge.
yeah.
That is huge. I mean, that's why I knew it was going to be I mean, talk about an important cat when it comes to reggae. Really, the name itself and predating the sound of reggae, as you just explained, your own personal experiences starting out backing him, and then through the years. So do you remember first hearing him before you had gotten the chance to back him, or how did you when you first interacted with him? Did you already know who he was? Kind of tell that.
Yeah, man, of course I did, because as I tell you, Dog War was one of the songs that I just thought it was just off the chain. I mean, I had no idea what he was singing in the song. It took me a long time to work it out. And, these are 45 singles that would have been brought into my house by my older brothers,
Right.
They would have bought these singles and brought them home. And then, I, as the youngest one who was pursuing musical life, because, my mom said, well, this one is the musical one. And I was primed that way to be a musician. At first classical, but having once fallen in love with stuff like the Scatolites and Rocksteady and stuff, that's kind of what changed me and moved me into that direction. Yeah, I would have known about Toots before I met him. Absolutely, I knew before I met him.
And then through the years, you go from Inner Circle to forming Third World. You guys begin to take off yourselves. You have all kinds of success through the years. Now you're kind of like a parallel artist, if you will, and not just like a young kid backing him. Um, are there other, as you think about him, just as you know, as a sort of a eulogy to him, when you think of your personal experience as an adult? You mentioned he did all four of those shows that you do were sort of like a festival environment where you bring lots of different bands together. Are there other experiences, perhaps from the '70s, just when Third World first became its own thing, that you remember crossing paths with him as sort of a peer?
Well, yeah, because I mean, after we, well, our experience in London when we really launched, you and I spoke about that already. So
Yeah,
you know when we opened for Bob and
correct.
stuff, and after that, Chris felt that it was very important for us to go on the West Coast because the music was going to break out there, out of San Francisco and stuff. There was a lot of attention to reggae out there, and one of the pioneers who was who was performing out there and drawing a lot of people was Toots. And so when I would have gone out to California as a real youngster, this is early third world now, I was maybe 19, 18, 19. It was like, you know, Toots territory then. He was already out there playing. He had already done the Long Branch. Most of these clubs that third world went into, you know,
He had been there
so
first.
on our first assignment, places like that, there were posters of that Toots had appeared there already, you know.
Wow.
So I mean, yeah, and we would have crossed paths many times through the years in many different circumstances, you know, many different festivals, many different things all over. We just never lost contact with each other. We were very close, and in fact, he really loved Ruggs. Him and Ruggs had this great relationship and friendship, and and a lot for me too, you know. I mean, I don't really want to underplay my relationship with him because it's very special. And, you know, he saw me as a guitar player who we really rated, we really loved. And I played on several of his songs. And he was the hardest guy to play because he would be singing what he wanted you to play. And this was something that French film producer named Jerome Lacroix, who did Made in Jamaica and who did the Third World movie Prisoner in the Street. He came to Jamaica and he wanted Toots to be in his film. So I told him, look, Toots called me and he asked me to play on a song for him. And he's at such and such a studio tonight that we can go in and then you can talk to him about signing him for the movie and stuff. So the guy says, great, let's go. So while we were there, Toots was, you know, they put the song on and he said, this is the song I want you to play on. And he would be singing all these praises that he wanted me to play on, you know, and I'm trying to catch them. And this producer laughed his ass off at me because Toots kept changing every minute. He said he wanted this, then he said he wanted that. But if you don't know Toots, that's the nature of how he was, you know. He was a very special guy. And he could have been very annoying, but you can't get annoyed with him because you love him too much. So, you know, it's it's um it's great to remember all that stuff, you know, and I just have to say that it's very hard for me to think of him as gone. Um, I'm really having a problem with that because he brought so much life and energy. There wasn't really much sadness around this guy, you know, and that's what to me is the hardest thing. It's trying to visualize that he's not around, he's gone. You know, it's 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 been hard. This is not. I don't want to say it is sadness. It's more like just bewilderment. You know, just kind of. You know, it has just kind of discombobulated my whole thing. I mean, Granted, he was 77, he lived a fantastic life and everything, but he was so energetic and so fit. And to see him go down like that so quickly was just kind of really frightening for me. You know,
Sure. Well, I mean, in a lot of ways, it's the lesson of why you have to be so careful with this virus, because obviously it can, people who are vulnerable, and we just don't know that much about it, what makes someone vulnerable. Sometimes it can be age, it seems. Sometimes it's other things, because it'll be young people. And obviously for him, it was a tragic outcome.
I'm sure he had many, many fans in Hawaii too.
Oh, no question. And he played here. I just had Steve, the mystery emailer, this guy who emails me different kinds of history about when bands have played here. He just sent me a thing about Toots having played here a long time ago. And clearly, you're right, the way Hawaii is such a connection to reggae. He has a huge thing. I saw him, the last time I saw him was, I think, 1992, if I'm not mistaken. So it's been many, many, many years since I've seen him. And the final question I'd have for you, Kat, because that was really beautiful. A lot of what you said was very, very touching. When was the last time that you saw him and interacted with him, if you can share that story?
He, 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 he after he came and did the Third World show, that's 2 years ago. Sometime the following year, which should have been 2019, he sent me a message to say that he had two songs that he wanted me to play on. He wanted me to bring the cello and he wanted me to bring my acoustic guitar. And I went down to his studio and spent the whole afternoon with him. Of course, it's the same thing. He's singing everything that he wants me to play. You know what I mean? That was something special about it. Yeah, and I spent the whole afternoon there with him and stuff. And then he had a birthday party. And a couple of us went. Of course, Norris, who plays keyboard for Third World, was with Toots for nearly 20 years. So that's another thing that I had to deal with was, Norris was Norris going to take this, and Norris took it hard, and it was myself, Norris, and a good friend of mine, Colin Leslie. We went to his birthday party, and it was great. I mean, away from a lot of weed and a lot of jokes, a lot of fun. And yeah, that would have been, I think, probably the last time I saw him. I mean, I don't want to say that is actually the last time because I may have run into him somewhere or some whatever. It was like that with us. We'd run into each other at places and stuff. And I just really just want to say that what a wonderful person he was, what a great, great friend to me he was, and a mentor of the highest order to me. And someone who I looked up to, someone who to this day, I respect to a maximum level. He's out at the top draw. And his music lives, and therefore he lives. And this is something that I think, Dave, that all us musicians must understand, that we're given a very special gift, which is to leave behind songs and lyrics and culture. We're given that privilege to leave that behind. Sporting personalities, they're given that privilege too. I can't say that Muhammad Ali will ever be forgotten. But, records are made to be broken. And the guy was running 10.3 back in the day. Now Usain Bolt is running 9 point something for the world record. And with music, it's different. The song just keeps living forever, And it's a very special thing. And Toots in particular, his songs will live forever. Last week Sunday we had a little session here at my brother's house. We played a lot of Toots material, and it's just so incredible. I mean, he has so many songs,
right.
So many great songs, and they live on. But Toots lives on,
It's a beautiful, beautiful tribute. I really appreciate you taking time to talk about him like that, and it's touching, and from somebody like yourself, and cool sharing the story of Bunny Ruggs Clark, as you mentioned, who is the late great member of the band, who, as you were telling, was close to Toots himself.
Aloha, Stephen Cat Coore of Third World here. Aloha, this is Stephen Cat Coore of Third World. It's a pleasure to be part of the Off the Road series, right here on this show, All Things Considered, with my dear brethren, Dave Lawrence. Never have we needed public radio like right now. So I ask you from my heart, please make a contribution. And on behalf of Third World, I say a big mahalo. And on behalf of Third World, I say a big mahalo from Jamaica.
You are the man. I'm giving you a big hug. Feel it, brother. Feel the love.
Thanks a lot, Dave. And you know I love you, man.
No, and I love you too. You're such a solid cat. I always remember hanging with you in the studio with the cello and everything. I get chills. You're such a good brother. You know, it's like your family. So I give you double hugs and hold on tight. And I'm sending you nothing but positive energy. Stay safe. Always wear your mask. Do not catch that thing.
All right, Tiger. Trying my best.
All right. And I'll send Heather the link when the thing airs. And again, just be safe and God bless you. I really appreciate every time that we connect.
All right, Dave. Lots of love, man.
You too. God bless.
Take care.
Be safe.